Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever wondered why, despite all the advice out there, so many people are still drowning in debt? If paying off debt was as simple as just following a basic plan, why are millions of Americans still buried under mountains of credit card balances, student loans, car payments, and personal loans? The truth is, it's because most explanations skim the surface. They don't dive deep into the real reasons people struggle or how to choose a strategy that actually fits your life. Today, I'm going to break down two of the most famous debt payoff strategies, the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. You've probably heard these names tossed around on podcasts or in finance books, but what you haven't been told is the full story. Which one actually saves you more money in the long run? Which one works best for real, everyday humans with emotions and distractions? Which one leads most people to fail? And crucially, which one you should use based on solid math, proven psychology, and actual debt statistics from the US. By the time this video ends, you'll walk away knowing exactly how to pick the right method for your situation, how long each one typically takes to get you debt-free, and how much interest you're wasting if you choose the wrong approach. Let's dive in and tackle the real problem head-on. The average American household isn't just dealing with one type of debt, it's a mix that can feel overwhelming. According to recent data from sources like the Federal Reserve, the typical family might have around $7,000 to $10,000 in credit card debt alone, often at sky-high interest rates of 20% or more. Then there's a car loan averaging $20,000 to $30,000 at 5 to 7% interest, student loans that can easily top $30,000 with rates around 4 to 6%. And sometimes personal loans or medical bills adding another $5,000 to $15,000 at varying rates. And here's the ugly truth that no one likes to admit. Debt isn't just a math problem you can solve with a calculator. It's deeply tied to human behavior. People don't fail at paying off debt because they can't add up interest payments. They fail because they get overwhelmed by the sheer number of bills. They lose motivation when progress feels invisible, or they give up halfway through when life throws curveballs like unexpected expenses. That's exactly why these two methods were created. They're not just strategies, they're tools designed to address both the financial and the psychological sides of debt. Let's start with the debt snowball method, which was popularized by personal finance guru Dave Ramsey. This approach is all about building momentum through quick wins, kind of like how a small snowball starts tiny but grows bigger and faster as it rolls down a hill. Here's how it works step by step. First, you list out all your debts, but you organize them from the smallest balance to the largest balance, completely ignoring the interest rates for now. You make the minimum required payments on every single debt to keep them in good standing and avoid late fees. Then, any extra money you can scrape together, maybe $200, $500, or whatever fits your budget, goes straight toward paying off that smallest debt as fast as possible. Once that smallest debt is wiped out, you take the money you were paying on it, the minimum plus the extra, and roll it all into attacking the next smallest debt. It creates this cascading effect where your payments get larger over time, speeding up the process. To make this concrete, let's use a realistic example with numbers that mirror average US debts. Imagine you have 4 debts. Credit card A with a $1,200 balance at 24% interest, credit card B with $4,500 at 19%, a car loan of $12,000 at 6%, and a student loan of $28,000 at 5%. With the snowball method, you'd attack that $1,200 credit card first, even though it has the highest interest rate. Why? Because knocking it out quickly gives your brain a dopamine hit, a real sense of accomplishment. You see one debt vanish from your list in just a few months, which motivates you to keep going. People love the snowball for exactly this reason. You see results fast. Those early wins build unbreakable motivation, and you feel tangible progress within weeks or months instead of years. It's especially perfect for folks who've tried debt payoff plans before and quit because they felt stuck. However, there's a brutal downside that we can't ignore. You end up paying more in interest overall. This isn't just my opinion, it's pure math. By focusing on small balances instead of high interest ones, you're letting those expensive debts linger longer, racking up more charges. So, the snowball is emotionally efficient, helping you stay committed, but it's not the most financially efficient way to minimize costs. Now shifting gears, let's talk about the debt avalanche method, which is a favorite among math enthusiasts, accountants, and finance professionals because it's optimized for saving money. This one flips the script on prioritization. Here's how it operates. You list all your debts again, but this time you sort them from the highest interest rate to the lowest, ignoring the balance sizes. Just like with Snowball, you pay the minimums on everything to stay current. Then, all your extra cash goes toward demolishing the debt with the highest interest rate first. Once that's paid off, you move that payment amount down to the next highest interest debt, and so on, creating an avalanche of progress that buries the costliest debts quickest. Using the same example debts, $1,200 at 24%, $4,500 at 19%, $12,000 at 6%, and $28,000 at 5%, the avalanche would have you attack the 24% credit card first, then the 19%, followed by the 6% car loan, and finally the 5% student loan. Why is this powerful? Because by targeting the highest interest rates early, you save thousands of dollars in interest over time and get out of debt faster overall. It's mathematically optimal, meaning it's the cheapest and quickest path on paper. This method is ideal for disciplined people who can stick to a plan without needing constant emotional boosts. But here's the problem that nobody mentions enough. It can feel painfully slow at the start. If your highest interest debt happens to be one of your largest balances, like a big credit card or student loan, you might go months or even a year without seeing a single debt fully disappear from your list. That lack of visible progress kills motivation for a lot of people, leading them to abandon the plan altogether. To really drive this home, let's compare the two methods head-to-head in a side-by-side breakdown. I'll explain each category so you can visualize it clearly. In terms of focus, the Snowball zeroes in on the smallest balance first to clear it quickly, while the Avalanche prioritizes the highest interest rate to minimize costs. For motivation, Snowball gives you high motivation early on with those quick wins, but Avalanche often starts with low motivation because progress feels hidden until later. Interest paid. With Snowball, you'll pay higher interest overall since expensive debts stick around longer. Avalanche keeps it lower by killing off the priciest ones fast. Speed to debt-free. Snowball is slower overall because of that extra interest drag, whereas Avalanche gets you there faster in total time. And best for, Snowball suits emotional spenders who need psychological boosts to stay on track, while Avalanche is for disciplined planners who can handle delayed gratification for bigger savings. Here's the harsh truth that cuts through all the hype. The best debt payoff method isn't the one that's perfect on paper. It's the one you won't quit halfway through. Now let's get serious with some numbers to show the real impact. Assume a total debt of $45,700, which is close to the average for many US households with multiple loans, and you're able to throw an extra $600 per month toward payoff after covering minimums. With the Snowball method, you'd be debt-free in about 6.8 years, but you'd pay around $9,400 in interest along the way. Switch to Avalanche. You'd shave that down to roughly 6.1 years debt-free, with only about $6,800 in interest paid. That's a difference of over $2,600 in your pocket, not to mention 7 months less of stress. What could you do with that extra money? It could buy a reliable used car, build a solid emergency fund, or cover rent for several months. The Snowball feels good emotionally, like a warm hug during tough times, but the Avalanche saves you real, hard-earned money that you can use for better things. But here's what smart people do instead of blindly picking one. They don't argue based on opinions or gut feelings. They use free online calculators to run the numbers specific to their debts. I recommend tools like the NerdWallet Debt Payoff Calculator, which lets you input all your balances and rates, the Bankrate Debt Calculator for easy side-by-side comparisons, or Undebt.it, which simulates both methods and even tracks your progress over time. Just plug in your exact balances, interest rates, and how much extra you can pay each month, then compare the timelines and total costs. If you're not using a calculator, you're basically guessing, and guessing with debt is an expensive mistake that could cost you thousands. So here's my no BS advice on which one to choose. Go with the Snowball if you've tried debt payoff plans before and failed, if you get overwhelmed easily by financial stress, if your debts feel emotionally heavy and keep you up at night, or if you need fast momentum to build confidence. On the other hand, choose Avalanche if you're naturally disciplined and can stick to routines, if you don't crave those immediate emotional wins, if your high-interest debts are draining your budget like a leaky faucet, or if you simply want the fastest and cheapest way out of debt. But for most people, the real cheat code is a smart hybrid approach. Start with Snowball to knock out your first 1 or 2 small debts and get that motivational boost. Then switch to Avalanche to optimize the rest with math on your side. It's the best of both worlds, momentum plus maximum savings. Remember, having debt isn't a moral failure. It's a common part of life in America. especially with rising costs for education, cars, and healthcare. But staying ignorant about how to tackle it? That's a choice you don't have to make. Both Snowball and Avalanche work if you commit to them. Doing nothing is the only guaranteed way to fail. So pick a method today, run the numbers with a calculator, and commit to the plan. Your future self will either be stuck paying endless interest or thanking you for the freedom you've created. If this video helped you understand debt payoff better, hit that like button, subscribe for more straight talk finance tips that cut through the noise, and comment below with Snowball or Avalanche to share which one you're going with.